Major funding for these broadcasts has been provided by grants from Madison Realty Capital, Capital One Bank, Eastern Consolidated, New York Community Bank, M&T Bank, Sterling National Bank, Meridian Capital Group, Customers Bank, AmTrust Title, Ariel Property Advisors, Dime Community Bank. Additional funding has been provided by AVR Realty Company, Bank of America Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, CBRE, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chase Mortgage Lending, Citizens Bank, CPEX Real Estate Services, Colliers International NYC, Collins Building Services, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, Flushing Bank, Friedman LLP, Handler Real Estate Organization, Handro Properties, Hodges Ward Elliott, Inc., Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Institute at Syracuse University, Kilroy Architectural Windows, Matone Group, Mercantile Bank, New Banks, Newmark Knight Frank, Optimum Window Manufacturing Corp., People's United Bank, Rockefeller Group, Rosewood Realty Group, SJP Properties, Stonehenge NYC, TD Bank, Terra CRG, the Meringoff Family Foundation, the Moynihan Organization, Moynihan Capital Partners, and these friends.
Family business. Ooh. Statistically, they don't always work when they transition to the next generation. But today, I've assembled 4 individuals who are in family businesses, who are working. So today, we're going to discuss the challenges and the opportunities of working in a family business. My guests, they include Greg Kalikow, who's the Vice President, Kalikow Group, and Khaled Management.
Yes.
Eric Dochter, who is a Managing Director at Excel Realty Advisors. Jason Honigfeld, who is a Senior Project Manager at Briad Construction and the Briad Organization. And the last but not least, Lindsay Pistilli Camerata, who is a Vice President at Pistilli Real Estate. And Junior.
Yes.
Okay.
You're going to interview the junior too?
Junior's part of the operation.
So, is part of the interview?
Okay. So how many generations for the Kalikows?
I would be the 4th generation in the family business.
Eric?
Second.
Second generation.
The 3rd generation and 4th.
Okay. So wait a second. So number 4 has already been destined that 4 is going to join the family?
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, how do you decide to get involved with the family business? Because you have an interesting dichotomy. You're married to an individual that you've known your entire life, who's working in his family business.
Yes.
So what are the dynamics? How is it to work with your dad? Okay, your mom's not in the business.
I love working for the family business, and I think having my husband in real estate management helps a lot. We help each other, mostly him helping me, but I love it. I love working with my father. Alongside my father is his brother, and I work with my brother and my 3 cousins. So. Okay, so your dad's in business with his brother. Yep. And his brother has 3 kids. Three boys? 2 boys, 1 girl.
Now, are all 3 in the business?
Yes.
How do you disseminate what each one's role was? I mean, have you gone through, I hate to say, which Jason has done a little bit, gone through a training program into different divisions of the business?
We didn't. I think that my father had an eye for what we would be best suited for, and he kind of led us in that direction, and he you know, we all are involved in all aspects of the family business, but some of us have different niches, and we just kind of found our spot.
So what is your role today?
So I'm in charge of customer service and maintenance. So I oversee all of the property managers, the supervisors, and the field. So.
And how many apartments are owned by Pistilli Realty?
We own about 3,000 units.
And you're basically in the boroughs?
Yes.
Mostly Queens and the Bronx.
Queens, Bronx, Manhattan, and one in White Plains.
Oh, you were allowed to? Oh, because the family moved to Queens.
Yeah,
Moved
into Westchester.
Into Westchester.
Yes.
Jason, tell me about your family business.
So I started with my family business probably when I was about 13 years old, pouring sodas at Wendy's. So I've always been around my father and always been admired by his hard work ethic and how people have seemed to gravitate towards him.
Now, does your father have any siblings, any brothers or sisters?
He has a sister, older sister.
Is she involved with the family business?
She's not, no.
And you have a sister who's now also working for the family?
I do. I have a sister who's 26, and she is on our HR field management side, visiting our hotel properties. So she actually just joined here within the past year. So
we know that we have over here on the Pistilli business, which you've omitted one of the businesses.
I did.
We have 3,000 rental apartments in the 4 boroughs and in White Plains. You also have another business called First Central Savings Bank. So tell me about that business, which you said you're going to try to get involved with also.
Yeah, my father wants the whole family to get involved. And I believe he opened it up in 1998, so I was 8 years old. And that's his pride and joy. He loves the bank, and he really put a lot of heart into operating it and running it.
So he wants the whole family to get involved with it?
Ideally, he would love for the whole family to get involved.
But you have to have the responsibility and figure out the right jobs and places.
Correct, yeah.
Tell me about your father's family business. I know he started with an ice cream shop in New Brunswick and in Princeton.
Correct. So today we have about 185 restaurants consisting of our Zimburger brand, which is a gourmet burger, polished casual dining restaurant. We have 115 Wendy's restaurants, and we also have our TGI Fridays brand, which goes coast to coast. So between our restaurant business, we also have a hotel division within Briad, consisting today of Marriott and Hilton branded hotels on the limited service side, which were actively in development and growing pretty rapidly.
And your sister, what is she doing?
She is on the HR field management side in our hotel division.
Eric?
I'm in the real estate brokerage business, specializing in 1031 exchanges, basically, which are investment sales, basically across the country. Our customer base is basically New York City, since there are huge gains here in New York, but people tend to reinvest their proceeds outside of New York, and there's a lot of financial strategies to help them get more of in a cash position, to help them grow their businesses.
Your dad was a practicing attorney.
He was an attorney. He settled a large case, and he decided to give up law. And he went into business with a friend selling net lease properties, and I was doing commercial office leasing at the time. And after I got married, I decided to join him because office leasing was in a bad spot at that point, and sales was more a relationship business, you know, working with investors over and over and over again, rather than doing a lease that'll be, you know, once every few years with a client. So I enjoyed having to be able to constantly work with.
So how many years are you involved with your dad now?
Over 25 years now.
And your sister's involved also?
Yeah, she's involved in the last 8-10 years. She's an attorney. We also had a title company, and she was really more involved in that aspect of it, and we had sold that back to the First American, and then she joined us on the real estate side of this, and she basically runs the office.
And now we go to the people who are in the longest, 4th generation.
Yes.
Let's talk about your business, family business. Tell me about it.
All right, so our family business is consisted of two portions, the Kalikow Group and Kalikow Management. Kalikow Management is the management company where we own about 2,000 units and manage an additional 4,000 to 5,000 units. It was a business that was started by my great-grandfather in the 1920s. My father was third generation, and now I'm in fourth generation in Kalikow Management. We also have the Kalikow Group, which is our investor side, where we partner up with developers from around the country who have the access to good residential deal flow, multifamily garden-style apartments, and they come to us for equity, and we put together deals, and we're more of a relationship business on the investor side. We typically partner up with a developer, and we like to continue our relationship with that developer.
So we were saying before, when did you realize that you wanted to go into, as we would say, the family business? Because as I alluded at the beginning of the show, sometimes it's difficult to transition from the first to the second generation, and third generation, normally, they never work, okay? When did you want to join the family business?
Well, I was always very fond of my father growing up. He was my idol, and I always wanted to do what he did. But what really did it for me was when I was probably about 12, 13 years old. We were in one of our apartment buildings that we owned in Forest Hills, Queens, and I was there. I was watching a renovation project take place. A couple of renovation crew were working on renovating a bathroom in one of the units, and I saw them jackhammering tiles. So I come in, you know, probably not even 5 foot tall, 75 pounds soaking wet, asking to jackhammer up the tiles in the bathroom. And they're like, "Are you sure you want to do it?" And I said, "Absolutely. Let me have the tools." So I put on the protective vest, the goggles, and the jackhammer, and there I was jackhammering away. And I said, "You know what? This is great. You know, I really want to involve myself and get entrenched in all aspects of the family business, because I really view myself as a caretaker for the business for future generations." My daughter now, just about a year and a half old, maybe someday she'll go in the business. And, you know, I think when you're in a family business, you really try to check your ego at the door, because it's more about the continuity of the business and the livelihood of your family than you trying to put your name on the map and say that you can do this in comparison to what previous generations have done.
Okay, you're all in your father's business, okay? This is a direct descendant to the Kalikow family. How do you see your mother's feeling with regard to you being in the business? All of you. I mean, sometimes, you know, you might feel that your mother would like you to go into a different field. You originally practiced law one summer, you know,
right,
for tenants. You worked one summer, as you were saying, for a general growth group over there. You had many years of experience before you went in working in the leasing side. You were predestined, so it was okay. When one of the Monsignors, you know, gave you your name, you were told you were joining the business. Okay, but how'd your mother accept you going into the family business? Because the entire family is in the business, as they said.
Yep. I think as a mother or as a parent, you just want your child to be happy. And if that meant, I mean, my brother didn't work in the family business right off the bat. He went into hotel management, and he, you know, so he went in a different path, and my parents were both okay.
How did your dad accept that?
He was okay with it.
Okay.
He said that, you know, if this is what you want to do, that's what you need to go for.
So what do you think the biggest disadvantage, or what's the hardest thing of working in a family business?
I think one of the hardest things about working in a family business is just trying not to take anything personally. So there's disagreements. We may not all, I mean, for my family, we have my 3 cousins and my brother and my dad and my uncle. So we all, that's a lot of opinions, a lot of different, you know, opinions. So
strong-willed Italians.
Yeah, yes, very strong-willed. So what we do is we like to, before we purchase a property, before we open up a new business or make any type of decision, we meet in the conference room and we discuss pros and cons, what we want, what we don't want. Do we all feel comfortable or not?
So there's an open exchange of opinions.
Yes, and I think that's the key to being successful in a family business, is just listening to each other and having an open mind.
What about you, Jace?
I think, one of the challenges specifically would be trying to create your own identity. My father has a very specific skill set. He has a totally different background than I do, and that's what makes him successful and as a leader today.
And he built this from nothing, okay?
Correct.
He worked
yep.
9 years for the Marriott organization and then went out with his retirement money and started a business. But
specifically, with kind of, going through school and, going to work, at another company first and getting that outside experience. But I think that he is a different personality than I am. He is he grew up in a different household. So, in our household, between my parents and my sister, he was a very supportive father. So, he was able to give me the abilities to go try different things and get that broad exposure.
wait, when you grew up, like Greg was saying, like Lindsay was saying, they knew they were going to join the family business at the age of 12. You, the age of 2.
Yeah.
Okay? Your father's business has been different, okay?
So,
I
yep.
mean, there was the period of time he had more restaurants. He was more in Vegas and different markets over there.
Mm-hmm. So specifically, I think it was really when I was a teenager and I was working in the restaurants and I saw, this is a 24/7 week business, okay? It doesn't stop, it's nonstop. And I saw the potential growth and I was attracted to that.
Right, but the 24/7 business
Mm-hmm.
also has negatives.
Correct.
Okay, because it's as I was alluding and telling you in the story about Bruce Bozzi Jr. from the Palm, he resented. You couldn't see your mom and dad because they were always there. My first in-law, my first wife, her parents had a drugstore in Borough Park, and she resented the fact she was always alone because, Christmas, somebody had to have the store open. Thanksgiving, so there was never a Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was at the diner, because that was part of the family business that everybody in the family. I remember when I got married, I was an accountant, but Thursday nights I'd be in Borough Park behind the cash register because it was part of the family business, okay?
Well, I think you need to be able to separate, the hard issues at play and the time that you're at work. But, specifically I was very attracted to the energy and the excitement. So our business, continues to grow rapidly.
So as I started at the beginning, so what are the opportunities you see for the growth of your business?
Right now, it's on our hotel side, where we own existing properties and some great real estate. And Marriott, with the acquisition of Starwood, now has the availability of about 30 brands. And so, whereas before, you only had specific brands and a specific market, and only so much availability.
Don't talk about the other babies in the water. As you know, as someone said to me, Shelley Fireman of Fireman Hospitality, when I would talk about his restaurant, he said, I got 4 other children, okay? The Trattoria, but there are other businesses. I mean, you're still in the TJ Maxx business.
TGI Fridays.
TJ Fridays, you're also in the Wendy business,
Correct.
And you're in the Zimberger business, so there are other businesses that
Correct.
over there. Eric, what do you think are the best opportunities and the biggest challenges that you might have working with Dad?
The technology has made things much more accessible and things are evolving past our parents' generation. So I think, that aspect of how to integrate real estate and technology will be upon our generation more so than our parents.
You bring up a good thing. Sometimes, people who are the older generation, when you talk about, and I know it's something that definitely it's due to you, it's not due to your father. If I would talk to somebody, how knowledgeable is your dad on social media or Instagram or Snapchat, okay? Which I know you're heavily involved in Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay? How knowledgeable is the older generation to adapt to the new technologies taking place?
I think it's slowly coming there. I also think that, before, the older generation is savvy on Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it may be. Right now I think they're grasping emails and PDFs and scanning things in and sending things out. again, you know, my father's been in the business, you know, his whole entire life. You know, I remember now we're scanning things in the office and sending them out to clients, attorneys, accountants, whatever it may be.
And he's saying there's a pruning machine to make copies.
He said, you know, I remember when I was younger than you, we never had all of this. We would make copies on carbon paper.
Right.
And I said, you know, I'm obviously, as a millennial, I don't really know what carbon paper is or have ever seen it.
But I think that's a challenge and an opportunity of explaining to the relative that there are other means to do something in the business, okay? Because when your father started building construction, they didn't really have automated CAD drawings on the construction over there. You didn't have Argus on analysis, okay? Yeah, as one person said to me a number of years ago, it's a great story about bricks, and the guy said, yeah, where was the bookkeeping office? He said it was in the trunk of the car, okay? And he'd pick up the checkbook, which had 3 checks, and that was the system over there. I mean, that's how your father operated, and that's how people operated before. So it's a question of getting involved with the technology.
Well, one thing that we do with our investors, which they really enjoy, is we have a drone video. We have a local engineer in our Southeast projects, and we have one in our development site in Prospect Lefferts Gardens, but we fly a drone over the construction site. So whether it's family members, partners, investors, every week or so they see the drone video and can monitor the progress of the construction themselves. And I think that that's a very powerful tool when people, you know, would ask 20, 30 years ago, how's the construction going or how's the progress regarding this investment going?
I call Louis up to tell me how the construction
Yeah, exactly. And now you really have the ability to see it yourself. So it's, I mean, technology has really come a long way.
So here's the question for all of you. How would you like to grow your family business? Lindsay?
That's a tough question for me because I feel like my father really did an amazing job growing the family business from what his father did. So for me, that's a challenge. For me, my cousins and my brother, that's a big challenge. And I mean, just to maintain it would be amazing, and to just grow and by purchasing more properties.
Here's the question, and it relates. Purchasing more properties. Certain generations would say, I want to start building new properties.
Well, we built already.
Right, but no.
My father built an empire for us.
Right,
so.
no, but would you want to get more involved in building? Okay, I'll give you an example. A lot of real estate families and other businesses are getting involved with technology. I've done a number of shows on that, and younger members of the generation are investing in new businesses, so which can grow the business. I think that's an area that sometimes the older management didn't think of, okay? Because 3 years ago, 5 years ago, there was no WeWork, there were no office share, co-shares.
Right.
You know, it was a different thing. There always been leasing, okay, of smaller things, but you didn't have what we have today. So I think that the younger generation is more savvy in certain areas, and they have to talk to the members of the older generation to say, this is something you can go. It's like, for example, when your father went into Zimberger, okay, he was not in there. He was into the Fridays, and he was into Wendy's, and he had a different type of operation. And if we really go back, he was into Roy Rogers, okay, which went out of there. But the next idea is where he could go, new opportunities. The same thing that even when your dad changed the business, you weren't that involved with investors. I'd say your business has grown partially because your involvement and the investor side coupled with increasing the management side. I think you've exposed to a larger area with you than what your father had originally. I think it's the expansion that's important. But how would you like to grow the business?
For myself, not only maintaining what we have, but continuing to grow our restaurant platform as well as to grow our hotel division. I mean, we have some great people. I want to be able to continue this growth and continuing, you know, our contracting side as well as, you know, restaurant side.
You bring up an important fact, and your dad was on my podcast, and he talks about the employees who are really part of the business.
Correct.
How do you retain good people who are not family within a family business?
I think one thing that a lot of people like in our company is we treat everyone like they're a member of our family. When you come to work, there's a warm family convivial feel when you walk through the door. You know, we have account reps, our CFO, director of property management, leasing head. These people have been with us 10, 15, 20. We've had people in the office with us 30 years. And I think the struggle is with the millennials now when compared to past generations is some of the people that have been with our company longer are naturally a little bit older. We've had a lot of millennials who I'd like to hope would work with us forever, but again, millennials now, they change jobs, change apartments, change cities, you know, very quickly. But again, you know, we really try to approach our company like a family, and everybody knows that whoever works for us is a valued member of our family. And I think they see that how hard my father works and how hard his father worked and how hard we all work. It really inspires them to really want to come and put their best foot forward when they walk through the door. I mean, that's why when you're in a family business, I'm sure that Eric, Jason, and Lindsay will tell you, if you give off an aura of not caring, how's that going to necessarily look to your employees? So you have to really show everyone that you care that much more than everybody else because it transcends to the employees. And I think that's why people really stay a long time.
Part of the biggest problem is giving away some equity to non-family members because it's not an easy situation. But in order to retain good employees, you either have to take care of them salary-wise or a different way, because part of the growth of the organization, you can't do it yourself. You have to have other people help you over there. Yeah. I'm looking at good next generations of families, and I think they're going to be transitioning. There's one question with you, because you have the oldest one, if you see your kids going into the business.
I think it's a little too early to tell. They just graduated college.
Come on, they both went into it.
But like I said earlier, I believe having outside experience, so they bring something to the table. They have their experiences that I don't have. And I think that something gains respect to our fathers is if you come in with opinions that you are strong about, knowledgeable about, they'll respect them. And having that experience outside the office gives you also a different perspective.
I think all of your businesses are going to grow and continue, and I'm happy that all of you have been here. I'd like to thank Greg, Eric, Jason, Lindsay, and Baby. And until we see each other again, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you.